All right. So we are at the Parliament of World Religions, and I just made a new friend, Asif.
Yes, awesome.
Nice to meet you, man.
Pleasure is all mine.
So I've asked him to just share a little bit about his religious background, his beliefs, so that I can have an understanding and share with you guys. So I'll give it over to you.
Give it over to me. Okay. So, I'm actually an imam for the Ahmadiyya Muslim community. Now, this is not a regular Muslim community, actually. This is that one community which actually believes in the second coming of Jesus in the persona of the promised Messiah, Hazrat Mirza Ghulam Ahmad. Now, even amongst Muslims, all Muslims currently are actually awaiting, or most Muslims are actually awaiting for a Messiah to come and reform their religion. Now, one thing that has to be stated right from the get-go is that this isn't a new religion. This is the religion of Islam. This is what the promised Messiah merely came to do, is to make sure that the religion of Islam is being practiced the way it should be. This isn't a new religion. This isn't a new sect of Islam. This is the Islam which was taught by the Prophet Muhammad, and this is the Islam which we actually teach. And so we have accepted the Messiah in the persona of Hazrat Mirza Ghulam Ahmad, who is the second coming of Jesus, not physically, but rather someone who came in the likeness and the character of Jesus, somebody who was similar to him. That is our belief as Ahmadi Muslims.
Awesome. So can you the prophet is Muhammad.
The Prophet is Muhammad.
Can you share a little, and then the book is the Quran.
It's the Quran, yes.
Yeah. So can you give a little bit of maybe like what are some of the misconceptions? Because I think Islam gets a pretty rough rap.
Yes.
But there's a lot of beauty in there as well.
Definitely. I mean, what we have to realize is that in the Quran, out of 114 chapters, 113 of them start with, "In the name of Allah, the most gracious, the ever merciful." And that one chapter which doesn't begin with this, it's merely a continuation of the previous chapter. So what we have to realize is that this book begins with explaining that God is merciful and gracious. He is compassionate and kind. Right? So,
Hey.
yeah. So that's the first thing that we need to understand. Now, there are a lot of misconceptions, unfortunately, about the religion of Islam. The first one is jihad. Right from the get-go, what we have to realize is that Islam teaches what jihad truly means. Even according just to the Arabic word, it means to struggle, to strive for something. Right? That is what jihad means. Jihad of the self. That is the greatest jihad. Right? And especially in today's day and age, you have certain fringe groups of Muslims who, in order to present and forward their own geopolitical gains, what they go about doing is they use this as a crutch, which is not allowed. Jihad is literally not allowed in this sense, in the way that they actually use it. Now, the Prophet Messiah, ﷺ, when he came, he actually presented this idea of what jihad truly is. He said jihad means a struggle. Jihad can mean anything. Me waking up in the morning for morning prayers can be considered a jihad. For a lot of people, it is. It'll wake up early in the morning to pray. That is my jihad. That is my struggle. Right? So that's actually what it is. Now, this whole concept of going around killing innocents, that's not found in Islam anywhere. In no way, shape, or form does Islam allow you to be forceful in regards to religion. There's actually a verse in the Quran which says there is no compulsion in religion. Now, what does that mean? Like, we could just use our common sense, right? No compulsion in religion. What does that mean? You can't force someone to be Muslim. You can't kill someone because they have a difference of opinion with you. It's not allowed. That's the first thing from the get-go. You can't force someone to do anything in Islam. It goes against a basic tenet of the Holy Quran, something which all Muslims have accepted. That's the first thing. Jihad. Another misconception nowadays is the status of women. I was actually speaking to a lovely woman earlier on today, and I was explaining to her, in the religion of Islam, when a daughter is born in your household, she becomes a means for you to gain paradise. This is a teaching of Islam. That if you take care of your daughter well, you give her a good education and a good upbringing, she becomes a means for your paradise. By doing something like this, you can enter paradise. When you marry a woman, she completes half of your faith. And this woman, as a mother, according to the teaching of Islam, paradise lies at her feet. Meaning, true obedience to your mother and true love to your mother is a means for you to enter paradise. The Prophet Muhammad actually said, in regards to learning the religion of Islam, he said, if you are confused about the religion of Islam, Ask my wife. She will teach you half of the faith. This is an amazing statement. So to see, unfortunately, nowadays people are saying that women are oppressed by Islam. Of course they're not. Maybe in some areas you have one person who is going against this rule of there is no compulsion in religion and forcing a woman to do something which she doesn't want to do. Remember, there is no compulsion in religion. If somebody accepts certain aspects of the faith, they have willingly accepted it, and they can willingly leave it. So there is no oppression within Islam, in the religion of Islam. According to the actual laws and tenets of Islam, there is no oppression of women. So those are two main misconceptions nowadays. If you have any others, slip my mind.
That's great. It's really great explanation for that, and I appreciate you sharing it. So I guess what I'd like to transition to and ask, for you, how do you guys create a connection to God or spirit? Like, what does that mean to you? How do you? This would be pretty vague, and you can kind of speak on it as you wish. But it would be like, how do we connect to God, spirit, and some of the principles in the faith and the religion?
Yes, of course. So the whole purpose of religion, even the religion of Islam, is to make a connection between you and your Creator, a true spiritual connection. Now, how do we go about doing that? Think about it like this. When you go and you buy a TV for the first time, so now imagine you went and you bought a TV, or you bought a new gaming system, and you're not sure how to turn it on. What do? How do you make that connection? How do you get the electricity there? And you're not too sure what a plug is. Kind of when electricity was first made, you open up the box, you took the TV out, you're looking at it, like, what is this thing? And you see this little booklet fall out of the box. That booklet is a manual. That manual teaches you how to use the TV. It teaches you the functions of the television. It tells you its limits, what it can and cannot do. Right? So you open up that manual and you learn. Sometimes, nowadays, even myself, if I don't understand a certain function in my vehicle, sometimes you can just Google it nowadays. But before that, a car comes with a manual, right? It's this thick manual. And you open up the manual and you say, okay, this is how I turn the heated steering wheel on. This is how I turn the heated seating on. Right? So before you didn't know how to do it. It's a new function. You don't know how to use it. What do? You open the manual. So if we are a creation of God, now we're taking a step forward in regards to whether the existence of God is there. This is us assuming that a God exists. If God has created you, logically what follows is that He's given you a means to function. He's told you how to function. He's given you a manual. Right? Certain people receive certain manuals at certain times due to certain issues, certain geographical issues, certain limitations which are imposed upon them. What we believe as Muslims is that the Holy Quran is a manual. This book right here. Right? Yeah. Thank you. This is a manual. What's the purpose of this manual? To plug it in. Learn the functions of the TV. Learn the functions of yourself as a human being. What your limitations are. What you can do, what you should refrain from. The reason why you're refraining from certain things is at the end of the day, anything which you refrain from, the philosophy behind it is that this is something which takes you spiritually away from your Creator. And anything which is taught by the way of religion, by the way of the Holy Quran, the main purpose of it, and actually the only purpose of it, is to help in you building a true spiritual connection with your Creator. So in regards to spirituality and how to go about building a connection, you follow what God has told you to do, because this is the manual. This is the belief set. So some examples of this are prayer, or meditation. Or is this something that people don't realize? The Holy Quran actually talks about meditating and pondering. To sit quietly, or to do this quietly, whether you're standing, you're sitting, or you're laying on your side, in whatever position it may be, to ponder over the creation of the heavens and the earth. To think about it. Sometimes you just need to get away from everything. Turn off all the lights, turn off all the technology, sit in your room, and use your mind for a moment. Ponder. Think. What is that? That's meditation.
Yeah.
That's literally what meditation is.
Awesome.
That's found in the religion of Islam as well. Prayer. Prayer is a form of meditation as well. Right? And there are certain other acts as well. For example, the acts of fasting. Fasting not only has physical benefits, but it has great spiritual benefits as well. This is something which is established by religions all over the world. So you have this manual now, which teaches you every single thing that you need to build a true spiritual connection with your Creator. So that's what I would say is in regards to building a spiritual connection. This is the manual to go about doing it.
It's beautiful words, man. I appreciate that.
Thank you, man.
So I want to ask you maybe one or two more questions. There are over, it says there's over 200 distinct faiths at the Parliament of World Religions this year. 200 different ways. As I'm perceiving it, is a way to create the connection, as you said, to a creator, to possibly an afterlife, or to spirit, or to the universe, or to life, in a way that you can understand it and make it tangible, and how to live a good life and things like that. In the world, it seems like there's a lot of spiritual religious conflicts in different ways. Do you have any thoughts on how the world moving forward, either just like the younger generation, or say the leaders of this, the Catholic Church, the Buddhists, whoever it may be, to come together and start to either share their wisdom in a way that can benefit humanity to the highest degree possible? Like, how do we start working together?
How do we start working on that? Honestly, this is actually given in the Quran as well. The solution is there.
Wow.
Right? And the Arabic wording is ta'alu ila kalimatin wahida, meaning come to a similar word. Come to one word. Now what this means is that look at the similarities of your religions as opposed to the differences. You know, if you were to, I've been here for 2 days now, and the amount of people that I've met and the amount of similarities I found with people from vastly different backgrounds, from different countries of the world. We're talking about France, the UK, the US, different countries of the world. And there's so many similarities. The concept of hard work in religion, the concept of prayer, the concept of fasting. These are things which are universal. So the Quran actually gave this solution that you may have differences, but it's telling us, but God, by way of the Quran, is telling us this is one part of your function as a human being as well. That you may have differences, but look at your similarities instead. So at the end of the day, you have so many more similarities than you do have differences. There was one king in the time of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, who, when he heard of the religion of Islam, he drew a line on the ground, a thin line, and he said, this is the difference between my religion and yours. A thin line. After understanding what these religions actually were. Right? So that's one aspect of actually going about doing this, of actually coming together. Right? It's about looking at the similarities and then going from there. Another thing is also, when you're looking at the similarities and you're speaking to one another, look at what you can learn from the next person. See if there's something there that someone has that you don't have. And take that from them. Wisdom is everyone's. Knowledge is everyone's. Nobody has a monopoly on it. Right? This is a teaching of Islam as well. This is a teaching of the Prophet Muhammad that a piece of knowledge is the lost property of a believer. A piece of knowledge is the lost property of a believer. If you have true belief, you will take knowledge wherever you will find it. There's another saying, that try your best to gain knowledge even if you have to travel all the way to China. Walau bisin. Travel all the way to China if you have to. Gain knowledge. Learn about everyone around you. If you want to recognize the Creator, you need to recognize His creation as well. You need to learn about His creation. If you want to love the Creator, you need to love His creation. If you see a beautiful piece of art, your reverence and your admiration for the artist will only increase when you see his art. You see the world around you. This is the art of God. You want to love the Creator, you have to love His creation.
That's beautiful, man. I love it. Okay, so the last thing I'll just ask, is there anything else that you'd just like to share? Any closing thoughts for anybody out there about life, about connecting with God, or just something
I would
you'd
say
like to know
life
about
is
Islam?
short. I would say life is short. You're going to wake up tomorrow. It's going to be the blink of an eye. It's going to be your last day here. Do the best you can, and actually try and find the truth. Actually be a seeker, you know? Because at the end of the day, the only person you're fooling is yourself.
Yep.
That's one thing it's unfortunate, especially in today's day and age. They're just so caught up in material.
Yep.
I want the house. I want the car. I want this, I want that, I want. They're not looking at what they need. And at the end of the day, when they get all of these things, what happens? They're not content. You hear stories about millionaires, some of the people who are the most successful people in this world, committing suicides. Why? Why would a millionaire commit suicide? If the purpose of your function as a human being is to gain wealth and be successful according to the standards of today's society, why is it that these people are becoming successful and then giving it all up at the drop of a hat? These issues are there. And you could turn a blind eye to them if you want right now. But that's the act of a normal human being. What we have to be is we have to be wise. We have to actually use the faculties that God has given us to understand the world around us. Right? And the main thing that we have to understand is that material world, material things, they don't equal happiness. They don't equal contentment. There's a verse in the Quran that says, Allah bi zikrillahi tatma'innul qulub. That by the remembrance of Allah, by remembering God, by pondering and thinking over Him, hearts receive contentment. By learning about who God is. Now, how do we go about doing that? We read the Holy Quran. We understand its true teachings. How do we understand its true teachings? There's so many differences. This is God's plan. And this is God's work. So if you're not understanding something, it's God's responsibility to teach you, right? If you're not understanding something, you're like, it just doesn't make sense to me. Right? Whose fault is it? If you're actually truly trying to understand it, it's not working. What do? You just give up? Obviously you don't. But now it's God's responsibility to teach you. When the world falls off the path, when we as human beings fall off the right track and start going wayward, what is the established tradition of what God does? Let's take Islam out of the equation for a second. What does God do? He always sends someone as guidance. He sends a prophet. He sends a saintly person. He lets people know. Right? This is the established tradition of a creator. Take Islam out of the equation. Take Christianity and Judaism out of the equation as well, actually. If you look at all the world's religions, they have certain figures who came and they actually brought very similar teachings. This is actually a proof for the existence of God. How can people who lived thousands of miles apart in the most remote places of the world, how did they both have teachings of the existence of one single creator? The unity of God, that there is only one God. Where did they get this from? Did they talk to each other? Did they ever meet each other? How is that all these random tribes, people who have never met each other, didn't even know another part of the world existed, actually knew that there was one creator? Such similar moral teachings. All these similarities. We're coming back to this whole concept, right? Concept of similarities. Where did they get this from? It's because it's coming from one source. And what does that source do? He sends a human being as an example. He's saying, if this human being can do it, why can't you do it? If this human being was able to build a connection with me, why can't you do it? It's not only a theory. It's not a moral theory. It's not just a moral philosophy that you read about in a book and you put it away. It's a practical teaching as well. You see people doing it. You see people acting upon it. And now I'm coming back to this final conclusion, which is the concept of khilafat within Islam. Caliphate, successorship. Now this prophet who I have accepted, the Promised Messiah, Hazrat Mirza Ghulam Ahmad. After him, it is the belief of Ahmadiyya Muslims that God actually established a successorship, just like He did after every prophet. This is actually the belief that after the Prophet Muhammad, they were callous. After Jesus, they were callous as well. Saintly, godly people who were divinely guided. Same thing with after the Prophet Moses. When a prophet is sent, it's not that the prophet is sent, he gives a teaching and he passes away and then it's a free-for-all. There's a successorship afterwards as well. God is constantly with them. If God was with this community, why would He abandon them? Right? Just because a prophet, just because a human being died. So we're coming back to this final point, which is the establishment of a successorship, which is currently established as well. If you want to see spirituality, if you want to see a physical role model in today's society, that person is alive in today's day and age as well. The Khalifa who I have accepted as the Khalifa of God, as the successor of this prophet, as a representative of God, as a Khalifa. This person is his name is Hazrat Mirza Masud Ahmad, His Holiness. May Allah be his helper. And he resides in the UK. And he is my spiritual leader. and he's my spiritual leader, he's my spiritual guide. And this is the person who I've accepted because not only did God give me a manual, he gave me a practical example. He said, this TV is functioning. I'm letting you know this TV works. This TV that you are a TV, you are a human being. You don't know how to function, or you don't know whether you can function. This is a person who's doing it. This is a person who's successful. This is a person who has reached their goals, who is constantly increasing in his spirituality. He's your example. If you want to learn about spirituality, what's the best way to do it? If you have a theory, you have practice as well, right? A lot of things work in theory, they don't work in practicality. Somebody could easily say the Quran is like any moral philosophy. I mean, some people would argue that communism works in theory. In practicality, what happens? So over here, you have a theory, you have a philosophy. The Holy Quran presents a moral philosophy. The teaching of Islam presenting moral philosophy. And then you have the practicality of it as well. What's the practicality? The Prophet Muhammad, his successors, the Prophet Messiah who came to revive their religion, to teach people what the true meanings of the Holy Quran, what the true meanings of Islam actually are. And then his successors, who actually followed this path and were successful. They are our example to show that the TV actually functions. So that is the last thing I would like to say.
Awesome, man. Well, I appreciate your time coming.
Thank you so much, man.
And sharing those wise words.
Thank you. Pleasure was all mine.
Peace.
Peace out.